response was that my job or your job? It's your camp. It's not my camp. So that's one thing. But the biggest thing that I see is your real focus should be on being good enough. If you're good enough, you will be found. You will be found. And you will be found by the right place at the right time. Because you're doing the right things. It will happen. You must be proactive in the process. Contact the coaches and the programs that you're interested in. So one of the things I asked the O3s before we went up to one of our last events, I sent a text out and said, did you invite anyone to come to the games? And I got two yeses, and the rest I got crickets or no, I didn't invite anybody. So we had a couple players who were taking the initiative and telling coaches where they were going to be and when they were going to be there. I always invite coaches to our games. I don't broadcast that. I don't tell you who I'm inviting and when I'm inviting and where I'm inviting them. But I know that when we make a trip into a market where there's a lot of coaches, I'm reaching out to those coaches and saying, will you come see us play? I think that if you've been aware, you've seen coaches come and visit with me between, before, and after games as they've been there, and they're not there on accident. Put together player profile and emails. We'll talk about that here. Keep coaches updated. Attend ID camps. Academics are key. We've touched on that. Take the ACT or the SAT during your junior year. Give yourself time to take it again if you'd like to. Register with the Eligibility Center. Do your research. Find schools that are going to fit you and your goals. How to get recruited. It has to be player driven. You must be proactive. Parent involvement limited to support and when the financial discussion begins. Mom and dad, don't email the coaches. Your daughter needs to do that, not you. They need to. They want to recruit your daughter, not you. Anthony, I'd love to see you play goalie, but they're really recruiting hard. Introductory email. We've already went over that once. I've sent that out back in February. I've got that example up to again tonight. Cover letter, player profile, schedule, video. Follow up with phone calls and emails. Unofficial visits. That's to educate yourself. You don't need a coach's permission to go visit their campus. You don't even have to see them. Go on their campus. Walk around. See what the feel is. College ID camps. Again, that business continues to grow. It seems like now you can go to a college ID camp in the winter. You can go to one on spring break. You can go to one in the summer. At a single school. You can go to ID camps where there's a bunch of coaches at one location, like the one that we host at Butler. There's all different options. You are your brand, represent it. Financial aid discussion, verbal commitment, national letter of intent. So verbal commitment and letter of intent are after you find your school. Building your college list. So we took one shot at this. I think again it was with maybe the O4s, if I remember correctly. Was it the O4s? Did I ask to put together 5 schools? So things you have to think about. The academics, do they even have your major? The geography, there's the statistic of 50% are at 100 miles, 37% 101 to 500. Social environment, we talked about that just a little bit, about the size of the school and what may provide and housing. Financial responsibility, right? So, another misnomer from players is they'll come to me and they'll go, Coach, Baylor's going to give me $27,000. And I go, do you know how much Baylor is? And they're like, $27,000? Yeah, they give you half. You still got to come up with the other half kid. So we don't want to focus on how much we're getting. We want to focus on what's left, because that's the part that we're going to be responsible for. What if scenario? Did you pick a school that you want to stay at if you don't play soccer? The soccer side, what level do you want to play at? Difference in level of commitment. You know Division III schools cannot practice in the spring. Division I and Division II are mandated to practice by their coaches. Different experience, different student-athlete experience. Division I, you're going to play 5 dates in the spring. Division III, you're not going to play at all. And it varies in between the levels. Division II, you can play 4 dates. In AI, you can play 3 dates. The quality of the program. Are you going to go somewhere where you can have an opportunity to play and make an impact and make memories and enjoy the experience? Or are you going to go somewhere where you have help? Right? It can work both ways. You can go be the superstar with no help, and that's not a very fun experience. Or you can go somewhere where everybody's better than you and you may not get to contribute very much, and that may not be a very fun experience. Those are things that you need to think about and what you want from the soccer. The coaching, that's going to be the person who you will report to for 2 years, for 4 years, for however long it is. You know, a recruit asked us the other day, how do we really know about the coach and the recruiting process? And I gave some advice, you know, go watch the coach run a practice, go watch the coach coach at games. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, unless you have a pre-existing relationship with that coach, you don't ever really know. Until you get there, and you move in, and you're there. And then you find out. Talk to the players. But talk to multiple players. Don't just talk to the player who never plays and complains. Talk to the player who plays all the time. Get both perspectives. See what that coach is about. The experience, playing time, financial aid, your role on the team, culture, these are all things that you want to think about when you're putting your list of schools together. Not just, man, that school sounds awesome. And I know some guys that are going to play football there. And so they're on my list. All right, so I asked some coaches some key questions here. These questions are for you. All right, I pulled Division I and Division II schools, personal coaches that are my friends. I reached out via text and said, will you please answer these 5 questions for me? NCAA Division I. What year are you currently recruiting? Today, right now. These questions went out this morning. I got the responses this afternoon. Mid-majors are currently recruiting 2020s. Division I Power 5s are recruiting 2021 and 2022s. That's the people in this room. That's Division I, currently recruiting. Recruiting, verbally committing, not signing, but recruiting and verbally committing. Recruiting through their club coach or a third party because they can't recruit through you directly. Division II, what year are you currently recruiting? 2020. So these are juniors. So we're okay. Everybody in this room is okay. When is a recruit committing to you? So you started the recruiting process, but when are these kids making decisions to come to your school? Division I, junior year for mid-majors. Major Division Is between their freshman and sophomore year. Now, obviously, there's some room on the front of this and on the back of this. There's these kids who commit early, and there's kids who commit late. But your Power 5 schools, this is when they're committing. Division II, when are they committing to you? Junior year. I got all the way from summer of before junior year all the way till the end of my junior year from the Division II schools. So I summed that up in junior year. How many multi-sport athletes do you have on your team? And I specified how many kids multi-sported during high school. Division I, mid-major and major. 0 to 5, the majority of the answers were 0. Some of them were very sick and said, hey, they played middle school, but by the time they got to high school, they stopped. Division II, 50% at the very most, trending more and more towards specializing. So Division II schools are saying, probably, at most half of our kids, but the coaches that have been at their institutions, a couple of them have said it's moving to a smaller and smaller number of kids who are multi-sporting throughout their high school career. I think that a lot of that is being driven by the DA, ECNL, and year-round club tournaments. Not right nor wrong, it's just where the market is being driven. And where you need to understand is you're not just competing with the girls in this room or in this city for your spot on a college team. You're also competing with some kid in Dallas right now, some kid in Chicago, some kid in St. Louis. And they may be putting more time in than you, or you may be than them. But that's who you're competing with, not just the players in this room. Not just this attitude of, well, she misses too. Okay. You're only believing what you see. There's also something out there that you can't see. How many players are on a full ride? Division I. How many think? 0. 0. And I was very specific in that question. Now, some coaches said, yes, we have some kids who with their soccer money and their grade money, they got everything paid for. But we are not giving a single kid everything. Division II, same deal. Nobody. In fact, a couple of Division II programs told me, never have I had a full ride in the history of the program since I've been here. So then I asked the question, just for my own and your knowledge, so if you could tell a kid what's the number one way that you think they should try to be exposed? Division I gave 2 different answers. Your club team, and being on a team that goes and puts yourself in front of college coaches and going to those specific colleges' camps. Division II, your club team, and personalized contact. Let us know that you are interested in our school specifically. Send me an email to me, not dear coach, dear Coach Seiler. Go see us play in the game. Be sure that I see that you're there. Let me know that you're really interested in our school. So these are the things that the coaches are saying that you need to be aware of for these 2 levels in the recruiting process. Why did I focus on these 2 levels? 30 out of 31 of you said, this is the level you want to be at. So this is what you need to know. Questions, comments, concerns? Thank you. So the objective here was to educate the group so that you understand that you have to take an initiative. It's not realistic for you to expect to just show up to the games and play the games and the magic happens. You need to understand that you're coming up. It's just in front of you, the timeline that you're going to have to meet at the level that you're saying you want to play at. There will be some of you that will be able to make a later decision and you'll be perfectly fine. I will tell you this earlier and earlier idea has been driven primarily by major Division I schools. So if you're sitting there and you're a freshman or a sophomore right now and you're thinking that you have to decide yesterday, you don't. You don't unless you're talking to a Power 5, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC school, which most of us in this room are not. Some of us are, most of us aren't. And I would tell you if you're not, and you don't soon, you're probably not going to that level. You got to make them know who you are. So taking an initiative and being realistic about the initiative that we're taking so that we can find success, not failures, not things that are going to frustrate us and start to have us thinking that we're not a very good player because we're not getting what so-and-so is getting. It's not about that. It's about finding a place that makes you happy. Finding a place where you can go and contribute. The 3 things I tell all of our players at Butler when they're looking for a school to leave after Butler, and when I tell them they're on their visit, first and foremost, the school has to have your major. Your degree seeking. Why would you go to a school and spend all that money to not be able to do what you want to do at the end of the day? That makes no sense to me. So the school has to have your major. Number 2, the school needs to be financially responsible for you and your family. This is what I think. Right? Yes, there's these life experiences and there's these opportunities. And if you and your family say, you know what, we can afford it, let's do it, then go do it. But if it's a stretch, if it's like, well, my mom's going to have to work overtime and dad's going to do this, and for you to go live in Florida to be at a school and pay $30,000 and you had 3 to 5 Division II schools in Kansas where you could have went and paid $3,000, At some point, my advice is the light bulb needs to come on. You need to make a practical decision. This is my advice, my opinion. You can have a different opinion, but this is the counsel I'm going to give you. I believe that you should make a financially responsible decision. It's not fun to graduate from college with thousands and thousands of dollars of student debt when you could have used your soccer as a tool to help you pay for your education. And in college, don't make any mistake about it. It is a tool. It is a tool you are going to use to help you pay for school. It's a fantastic tool. It's a tool that we love. It's something we want to spend our time doing. But it's a tool that can get you to your end goal and save you thousands of dollars. And the third thing, I really think that you should look hard about picking a place where you feel comfortable and confident that you can contribute. Don't overshoot your ability and take some bare bones offer from some school that wants to add you for depth or as a practice player. We've got 3 like her, but we'll take her because one of them may get hurt, or we're not sure how this kid's going to turn out, and if she doesn't, I think you should try to go to a place where you can contribute and make lifelong memories and lifelong friends, not be in an environment where you can't wait to leave, where you're always thinking about the grass could be greener somewhere else, and then you miss the present. You miss what you're doing because you're thinking about what else is there. So, does the school have my major? Is it a financially responsible decision for me and my family? And do I feel like I can contribute to this program and have a great career? I would much rather see my own daughters go somewhere where they are going to have an opportunity to play 60 to 90 minutes a game than be a practice player for 4 years somewhere. That's what I would like to see for my own daughters. I won't make the decision for them, but I know the difference. I know the difference because I coach the kid who doesn't get to play a lot, and I coach the kid who plays all the time. And I get to deal with and see those struggles on a daily basis in my college environment. And it's tough. So those are the things that I advise all of my players to consider as they're going through this process. So, where do you go from here? You reevaluate your school list. It's not too early to start putting together a list. And that list needs to be mixed. Right? It's okay to have a couple of Division I's in there. Have a Division II school in there. Have an NAI school in there. Don't dismiss the idea of a junior college for the first 2 years. It's free to go take a visit, to go see what the field is. Put together your school list. Your school list on the thing I gave you was 5. Your list can be bigger than 5. I wouldn't make it so big that you start to confuse yourself. And now it's like I have too many options and I don't know what to do and I can't make the right decision. I see players struggle with that. Once you have the school list kind of molded to what you think, it's time to take the initiative and reach out to these schools and say, my team's going to be playing at the Gretna Showcase in January in Omaha. I'll give you my schedule as soon as I get it. I'd love for you to come see me play. Here's a little video of me playing right now. My team's going to be at the border battle in February, or the Elite 120 in February in Kansas City. I'd love for you to come see me play, coach. So you start to contact these coaches and tell them where they can see you and how they can see you. Find out if they have a camp that's coming. Right? Is it a camp that's worth you going to? Maybe you bounce that idea off me. Because I do think that some of the camps right now are more about making money than they are about bringing in their real recruits. There's certain camps where they're bringing in their real kids to look at. There's certain camps where they're bringing in kids to make money. When we put our list together, we start to reach out to these schools, and we be persistent. We don't be annoying, but we be persistent. Because there's a lot of players that are contacting these schools. So you're not going to email the coach, and he's not going to respond 5 minutes later, or tomorrow, or in NCAA rules, he may not be able to respond for 2 years. But he may reach out to me and say, hey, when's this kid gonna play? Hey, what do you think about this kid? Or he'll contact Ernesto, or any coach in our club, or any coach that he knows has played against us. Right? And so then we start to gather our information from looking at these schools. So that's where we go from here. We readjust our school list if we're not happy with it, or if we feel like we're more educated now. And we start to take an initiative with the schools that we're putting on our list. Questions, comments, concerns? And that's the, yep.
How involved, doesn't seem like very much, but how involved are the high school coaches involved with the recruiting process?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, just like club in high school, different quality of coaches, different, some high schools are hiring really good coaches who will try to play a part and be invested, and then some schools are hiring people who just, they need to coach. So I think you gotta get a good feel for your coach, you gotta have a conversation with your coach. I think that you wanna be really careful about trying to, because that's where you're gonna play the most of your soccer coming up in the next few months. Don't invite the coach to come see you playing a game you know you're going to kill him. Don't waste their time. Pick a hard game. Pick a game you may even lose. And say, this is a game where we're going to be challenged. This is a game where I'm going to be challenged. It's difficult to get a multitude of college coaches to come to multiple high school games when they're not in the area because it's not efficient recruiting. When I go to see a high school game, I get to see two teams play. And I got to drive there, and I got to watch the game, and I got to drive home. But when I go to a tournament, when I go to a club event, I can see multiple games all day. So it's not quite as efficient in the high school environment, but it still can serve a purpose. And at the end of the day, if they come see you playing a high school game and they like you, then it worked. But I wouldn't bring them to games that you know are competitive. It's just going to be, they'll be frustrated, and they may not come again. And that's the other thing you got to realize is, and I've talked to the players about this a lot, this idea of one chance to make a first impression. And me inviting coaches out and some of our daughters laying eggs in these games, and me having to explain to them, I don't know if I can get them to come watch you again. Because they left, right? They left after today thinking that you don't work very hard, or that you're not very good. You had one chance and that's what you did. Or you hit a home run. You were fantastic. And then the coach is telling me that they're interested in you. So you got to get a feel for who your coach is, and then be really careful about what event you are inviting the coaches to come, college coaches to come see you play at, for sure. Rick?
Adam, I did take some notes, but I'm not very fast. Is there not anything you want to your PowerPoint?
I can, yeah. Well, that's a surprise, probably.
Just a man, you gotta say it
Ernesto, is there anything that, Ernesto sent a lot of kids to a lot of different places as well. Anything that we missed tonight?
Well, I missed the introduction, and I know you always start with the bang, so, you guys pay this guy a lot of money to make sure you guys use him as a resource, ask questions, and sometimes you might want to ask him, what should I be asking? Because sometimes we don't know. So I'm just going to go through some points that I kind of heard talked about, and like Adam said, where I'm coming from is probably the last 4 or 5 years, I've been in a situation where we send a lot of players to college, and I would say a big challenge for the players is contacting the coaches. They struggle with the social skills, like just having the courage to go to somebody and say, hello, my name is Ernesto, blah, blah, blah. So one way that I started to work on that is if you have your daughter initiate the conversation with Coach Hunter. Hey, Coach, I'm not going to do a practice because, and they include you in it. Instead of, Adam, my daughter's not going to be there because. So start doing that. It helps a lot whenever they go and talk to coaches. I'll go through some things that I wrote down really quickly that I think are important for you to kind of know just from what I've seen with the girls. Let's see. touching a little bit, how I used to recruit whenever I was in college, working that. Sit in the middle of the field, just look, look, look. You maybe touch the ball 5 times, and kind of give you a grade. A plus, she's going to be top 5 for us, you know. B, bottom 5, like, you know, the starting lineup, but bottom 5. B minus, C plus, she's going to come off the bench. Adam, this is an A. You know, if you trusted me, you didn't have to go C place, like, okay, bring her. So that's how I used to do it. How did I make that grade? How you touched the ball? Did you want the ball? Were you involved? Even if you made mistakes, how was your attitude? If you were winning, if you were losing, how was your attitude? Goalkeepers, it was in the warm-up. There's not a lot of action in the game. It was just in the warm-up. Go watch them warming up, give you a grade right there. So that's kind of how players, contact the coaches and make it personal. Hey Adam, good job on this past season making it to nationals. I saw your record was blah blah. 2 lines, boom. Instead of copy and paste, then every once in a while you make a mistake and you send it to the wrong coach. It's like, whoops. Automatic X on your name. Right there. Automatic X. You're going to go to Cloud 9 when you're a senior, whenever you commit, which is like Adam said, the journey just started for you. You don't know that or you really don't think about the freshmen and sophomores that are on the bench and they already know what it's like to be on the bench and what they have to do. So you're not going to be the big fish whenever you're right there. So keep working. That's just the beginning. Player development, you nailed it in the head, number 1. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. They're going to find you. You don't have to go everywhere, do every single little thing. They will find you. Okay? Do your homework on the school. I just had it recently. I had to talk to a parent. They emailed the coach. They went there, and I talked to the coach, and I'm like, what was one negative thing about the visit? They're like, I asked them a question about our school. They didn't know anything. I'm like, who contacted you? The parent. Like, oh, so it seems like the parent's interested on their daughter going to that school. So, do the homework there. Other thing about coaches, us as club coaches, we can only call our coach and say, hey, we're having a game, come here. Then the college coach comes, he watches you play, he leaves, goes with his notes. So if he doesn't recruit you, it's not our fault. Every time you got the ball, we go like this to the coach, oh, don't watch her, or watch her. That was our job. We got him there, and he saw what he saw, and that was it. I know several years ago, they were like, well, I don't think Ernesto really, vouched for my player, allowed for my daughter, and this and that. I was like, the coach was there. That was my job. So the rest of it is on you. I'll touch on the top things that they were talking about and relating it to how they relate to the teams of the players that have gone. Team mentality, it's huge. As coaches, that's what gets you the win. It's team mentality. Whenever you have somebody that drills through 10 players, they don't score, all of a sudden people start doing their roles and it's just down from there. This year we probably had, from the teams that I coach, I don't think we had as many superstars, and they won the most because those players really understood the team concept, and that's what you want, I think, as a coach. IQ, gotta watch the game, even if it's a half. NCAA 12, they have a tournament here. Kansas City, how many did you go? Here's another question. 30 of you, I think it was 30 the number, want to play Division I. You have to know the game. Who was the national champion this year? If you don't know, how do you want this convertible, that standard, but you can't drive standard? So you don't even know the level. Educate yourself about the level. You got to watch the game. Okay? Accept your role. Be positive. So good body language. That says probably more than what you say with your words. Okay? Hey, you play defense? I guess. You know what? You go in there. Okay? Mental toughness. Be a victim for the first 5 minutes, the first day. Call your mom, your dad, whatever you can do. But then the number one question is, what can I do better? Okay? Your coach is always right, even when he's wrong. So what can you do better?
Amen to that.
Okay? So what can you do better? Don't fall in the victim thing. Don't fall the victim. What can you do better? Coachability. Try your best. Can you apply the coaching points immediately? Hey, take the ball with the outside of your foot. Try it. Okay? So you see that right away. Character, that kind of shows that we trust you. Technical ability. Most of you are, pretty good there. You have good coach, you have good teammates, but one of the big things that's going to start happening, especially junior and senior, you're going to mistake activity for progress. Hey Adam, I come to every practice. Why am I not going to Division I or playing at this level? Well, you go in at 50% here because you like to be comfortable. You're here every practice, but you don't go 100% every time. You have to get uncomfortable every single practice. Last night, I know a lot of people were uncomfortable out there, and that's good. That's how you grow. Competitive fire. One of the big guys that I look up to, and I try to steal a lot of his stuff, is S. North in North Carolina. He says there are 3 things that he looks for top players in there, and one of them is competitive fire. Can they compete whether they're winning 10-0 or losing 10-0? Do they compete? So if I show up to your game at the Y, and I don't know the score, but let's say you're winning 10-0, you should be playing the same as whenever you're losing 10-0. That competitive fire should be the same. The other one is self-discipline. Okay? Do you do what you have to do, especially whenever you don't want to? And then self-belief. Believe that you can do it. Yeah. Believe that you can do it. Let's see. I'll try to quantify some of the things that some of the players that have gone to play at a high level. For me, train 3 to 5 days. If he's not available 5 days, you have to go on your own or hire somebody. And I'm a funny story here. A couple years ago, someone said, well, your players don't think you're a very good coach. I mean, they're getting training outside. I was like, no, they actually trust me enough that they're doing what I'm asking them to do. So 3 to 5 days, 10 months out of the year. You have the breaks in there. You actually want to put some breaks in there. Contacting coaches. Have to be sending emails normally about 2 weeks before your event. Why? I remember whenever we're a Butler, we're making our schedule, we're budgeting our schedule, our time, where to go observe. So we're making our list. You're going to go see this field, this team, I'm going to go here, here. So it's set. 2 days before, email again. Oh, forgot Bella contacted us. Go see if you could go check her out. If you email the day of, sometimes we're like, maybe if I have time, maybe I'll go watch it because I already have my schedule here. Some tips whenever you're playing. Try to walk away by yourself and show your number. Sometimes it's very difficult to see the numbers as a coach whenever you're recruiting. And you put your jacket on, can't see it. Another thing is very intimidating, believe it or not, or very uncomfortable for a coach if you're walking with all your teammates. For me, and for several reasons, I might not want to hurt your feelings. So if Bella's walking with all of you right here, I did it. It's not that I didn't care, but I was like, that was my job. I need to do a job. Like, yeah, Bella, can I talk to you, please? Most coaches won't do that. Okay? So maybe whenever you're walking away from the field, walk by yourself, show your number. Some side, you can ask my players, show your number, and then walk away. So kind of see it there. So just some little tips. Any questions? Parents ask a lot of questions. And where you understand it, I remember one parent's she's like, well, what can she do better? And it sounds like her touch needs to be better. She's like, well, I think it's good enough. I'm like, well, what do you think? How far is the ball landing after she touched it? It's like within 8 yards or so. I was like, yeah, she needs to be within 2 yards or 2 yards. Like, oh, that close. Yeah, so, just use your resources here. And I think you could talk to any club coach in Rush. That's what we're here for, to help you out. If you have any questions, you could always ask me. I've been trying to help a lot of the high school players. But I have the same thing. Most of them want to go to Division I. Most of them don't know about it. Or they don't know what it takes to get there. And I'll finish with this one. Being good sucks. Because you have to give up a lot of social time. And if that's super important for you and you're not going to give it up, reconsider your dream. You're going to have to give up sometimes with friends and with family if you want to make it happen. So, good luck.
Good luck. All right, just some quick couple housekeeping things for our team, and then we'll get out of here. So this is what we've got coming up on the calendar here. I try to keep Charity and Andy up to date with this, but obviously you can see we're coming up on a break here at the end of the week. We've got practice tomorrow. We still have some YMCA games, O4s on Friday, O3s on Saturday. O3s play Friday and Saturday, and then we have training on Saturday and Sunday of this weekend, and then we'll be done. We will not resume practice until the week of January the 7th. We still do have some YMCA games right after the new year, but we will take off these full 2 weeks. Last week in December, Christmas week, and the first week of the new year, so we won't resume practice back until the 7th. As of right now, our practice schedule should stay about the same based on the facilities, which is Tuesday night at the Forum and Sunday night at the Forum for the O3s and Saturday for the O4s. But after Christmas, everybody goes to Saturday on the Forum. So we'll be Tuesday, Saturday after when we resume back on the 7th. We may try to get back outside some at Heights, depending on the weather. It's just going to be a kind of a play it by ear. I know that this whole fall and winter has been a challenge, to say the least, in terms of the schedule being in flux and the facilities and the changes. But we really are just at the mercy of where we can get at this point. And we're not really, I wouldn't say that we're necessarily anybody's primary tenant. So that's made it difficult because we haven't gotten priority at places to get on the field and have it be consistent. And so we've been in flux. The plan is for the club to go to Stryker as soon as it opens. Now, if it opens before, if they open it January 10th and it's 10 degrees outside, we're not going. The indoor building will not open when the outdoor field opens. The indoor building is behind. But we will try to get to Stryker when it opens. Obviously, for you ladies, that may not be at all this spring if high school soccer starts before Stryker opens. Those trapped 8th graders, the plan currently is to train with the 05s. And so that will be Dylan Gunsel and I running that team in the spring, training with the 05s here. And then we are going to play Heartland with the 04 trapped 8th graders from a Lakewood Rush. That's our plan for the kids who are still going to be in 8th grade. So we'll train here with the 05s. That training I think is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays when we get outside in a regular scheduled striker. And then play with Olathe at Heartland. And then we'll see if we want to do any playing here at Stryker in the spring as well, maybe with some of the Wichita kids just to get some more games. That trapped 8th grade team likely will not do any tournaments after border battle. So we're going to go to the 04s, we're going to go to the Elite 120. We're going to go to the Elite 120. Both teams will go to the Elite 120 on the 16th and 17th, and then that will basically be it for those of you in high school, because you start high school practice February 25th. 04s will turn back around and go to Kansas City again, the 8th graders, the following weekend to play and / meet the Olathe players. That'll kind of be our one tournament to do is meet them, and then we'll just play the league games. We'll try to get 4 doubleheaders so we don't have to make 8 trips. So we're really looking at the rest of this week, and then we'll have 2 weeks off, and then we'll be January, February, and then shut it down for high school soccer. The other thing that we haven't talked about is we've got to get this game in Fusion. If we win the game, then we'll go to NPL Nationals. If we tie or lose the game, then Gretna would go to NPL Nationals. So it's essentially a final for us. That game's got to happen. I've asked Fusion for us to do that sometime in early to mid-January. so we can get it done and everybody knows whether we're going to Colorado this summer or not. Any questions on the schedule? Okay, on the, it's very difficult for me right now with the attendance. I know it's got to be difficult for Charity and Andy, because sometimes we jump on Team Snap and people haven't put their availability in Team Snap, so I don't really have a good idea of who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. Some of you are telling Andy, and some of you are telling Charity, and some of you are telling me, and some of it's text. And so what I need us to do, because we got a million players going in different million directions, I would like for the player to send the text, as Ernesto said. I would like for the player to send the text to me when they're not going to be present and include a parent. The player to send the text and include a parent on the text. And then I would like Team Snap updated so that there's one general place I can go and look. So, you know, when we're saying, hey, can everybody go to play at Fusion this weekend? And I can jump on Team Snap, good, we got 16, we can do it. So we need that to happen. And then the other thing that I want to say, you know, a couple of trends that I've seen kind of unfold this fall that I haven't been the biggest fans of. One I talked about is that idea of, well, I gotta do what's in the best interest of my kid. You know, it's a little bit insulting as the coach, because that's what I feel like we're trying to do for your kid. So I'm gonna ask you to find a different way to say it. If you think you've got to make a decision that's kid first over team first, I think there's a different way that can be said. And so I'm going to ask you to figure that out. And the second thing that's been a trend that is probably not going to be that well received, but you know, last year we were at the Forum training, and some kid had come in, and I know which kid it was, and I asked her specifically, you know, where were you? And not a kid on this team, on either one of these teams. Where were you at practice earlier this week? And she was like, oh, I couldn't make it. I had a bunch of homework. And I turned and I asked the NCAA coach that coached in our club, Coach, what would you do if one of your college kids told you that they weren't going to come to practice today because they had a lot of homework? And he laughed. This academics has to come first, but there is this challenge of learning how to be a student athlete and do both at the same time, simultaneously. And I got to study, I got homework, that's not going to work in college. That's not a reasonable thing to tell your coach to miss practice. It's not. And I know we're not in college yet, but I'm trying to move you in that direction. Again, this is for me to make you aware of this. My other statement to that is, what are you doing with all your time? Are you literally leaving school and running right home and opening your book and staying in your book until the minute you go to sleep? That you have no time to do other things? I'm hard pressed to always believe that, especially when I know that we have this thing with us nonstop. So that's something that I'm going to challenge us. And again, this is the player, this isn't the parents. This is the thing I'm going to challenge us to try to do a better job of navigating. I'm not, listen, if you can't come to practice because you feel like you have an academic responsibility that you've got to get taken care of, then that's what you got to do. And I'm not one to say, no, you can't miss for that. What I'm saying at this moment is, understand that doesn't work going forward at the next level. It doesn't work. Rhetorical question that doesn't have to be answered. Do you do that same thing with your school coach? Do you miss school practice because you got homework? So you get in your car and you leave and go home after school instead of go to your school practice because you got homework. Vanessa?
I would like to add something on that. On the attendance, one of the, I take attendance and I put it next so just for my knowledge. And one of the common things of the top players, and I think I posted that on Twitter back at the beginning of the year, is like they seem to have less difficult tests, less homework, less family events, less birthdays. So, meaning they miss a lot less, no matter what. The players that have gone to play at, at a very high level. I'm not saying that the other ones don't, but that's a common thing with them. And then on the texting, I'm just sharing a little bit what happens on my team. Hey coach, I'm going to be for a school function. And I talk, you have to be specific because I'm going to reply. What school function? Oh, the boys soccer team. Oh, school function. Got it. So, you kind of decide that. We have a limit. Like you have choice days. So many choice days, and you do whatever you want, but you still have to talk to your parents. So that was on that one. And another pattern that I've noticed, dads, I know that you're busy, but the ladies that include mom and dad miss a lot less than the ones that just include mom on the text. One thing I noticed, I don't know why, that's just one thing I noticed, I'll throw it out there. So dads, even though you don't want to hear it, maybe just have, even if you just swipe it and clear it, it helps.
Anything from the group? Bruce?
So do you have a method or a way that you will give individual feedback to our daughters along this path? Like, you need to be looking here. I know you're not here to burst anybody's bubble, but even having been through this once with Brooklyn, you still don't know exactly where your daughter fits in and where she ought to be spending her resources and time and energy, at different levels. And as a parent, that's something that I think would be helpful to us. And, Brooklyn didn't play but the 1 year for you, so we don't know how that works for your club girls as they go on up in their age group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, listen, it's a conversation that we can definitely have. It has to be, I think it's part of the player taking the initiative. If you, I'm not one to make the school list for you, but I can definitely give you my input on what I think is appropriate in terms of, hey, I think if you go in this direction, you're going to find more success. You're going to find more positive feedback from coaches. You're probably going to get more interest as opposed to going in this direction. Or I may say, hey, you're selling yourself a little bit short. I really think that you can do this. I think you should be looking at this level. I think you should, this is your take a risk school or two, and then here's your other schools that really can be your quote unquote insurance policy. But I'm more than happy to have that conversation with anybody that wants to do it. And it may be, we'll have to be practical. I'll have to be practical with you without bringing the player down as well. It's a sensitive, it's a difficult thing to navigate when you have players who aspire to be at one level, and you may have to say, hey, at this point you're not at that level, so maybe we got to do something to get to that level, or this is the level you're going to be focused on. But that's a conversation that I'm not afraid to have with anybody who wants to have it. Karen?
You have the different divisions looking at recruiting at different times, or maybe you get to the point where you're getting multiple offers. How do you navigate that, like, hey, what are you offering us? And then do you have a time, do they give you a timeline? Because you're waiting to see if maybe you get something a little better, but you don't.
Yeah.
How does that all play?
Well, it should be, the offer should be very clear from the coach. Some coaches may be a little bit less forward in showing their hand, and that's probably where you have to come back. That's probably where you need to lean on me to have that conversation with the coach, to be honest, because the emotion can be taken out of it. And I can just say, listen, are you making this kid an offer or not? And then come back with you with that information. coach is different. Some coaches are gonna be really aggressive, and they're gonna give you a very short time. Other coaches will be far less aggressive, and, you know, they may say, hey, you've got until the summer, or whatever it is, but they're all gonna be different. But as far as the offer, it should be very clear. You know, we should be able to say, they're offering you 50% tuition, books, and fees, or whatever it is. There shouldn't be any question on that part, and if there is, don't commit. Don't commit to an offer you don't know what it is. And so, and with our age right now, the majority of those offers are gonna come through a third party, which is likely going to be myself or a high school coach.
And are verbal commits like, like that's,
Good question.
I mean, like, if you get a verbal commit, is that like, you get a sign, or?
No,
is that
no, no.
changing
Verbal
anything?
commitment means that you are promising that school that you're gonna end your recruiting, because that's the school you wanna go to. That's the school you're gonna sign in on signing day. Signing day will not happen until your senior year. It's November of your senior year is the early signing period for women's soccer. NAI, you can sign anytime, I think after your junior year. But the signing date for NCAA and junior college is in November. So you can verbally commit at any point. So, you know, Brooke is verbally committed to K-State. That happened months ago. What Brooke has basically said is, I'm done looking at schools, and what K-State has told Brooke is that the offer that we gave you is going to be there in November of your senior year to sign. It's verbal. K-State can do anything to stop Brooke from going to visit another school, or securing more offers. It wouldn't be a good look for Brooke in the Sultans, but she could, because all she's done is given a verbal. This is something that happens a little bit more in football and basketball, where we make verbal, we continue to look for a better offer. It's looked upon with a bigger frown, I think, in women's soccer right now in smaller sports. But you're basically saying that you're going to end your recruiting, and that you've settled, this is a school I will sign with on signing day, and the school is saying, okay, the scholarship that we agreed on is yours. Now, you know, you've arrived, but through that process, under a long commitment, you have to continue to prove yourself. You know, if for some reason the school decided that they want to go a different direction, you know, Brooke got in trouble where she hasn't performed for 6 months, and they came and watched her play 5 times, and they're starting to think they made a mistake, or she gets some bad grades, or whatever. At any time, it's a verbal, they can say, we're going to move in a different direction. And they can do that. It's not a good look for the school either, because then they start to get a reputation that they don't uphold their verbal commitments, and now it's difficult for them to come back to that well again. You know, if a school started to back out of verbal commitments to rush kids, in all likelihood, rush kids probably stop committing to that school pretty quickly, because they're afraid they're just going to back out anyway. So don't verbally commit until you know. There's no reason for you to do that. I know sometimes you may feel the pressure of the offer and the deadline that's being put on us by the coach, but if you're not ready, you're not ready. Because what happens is you commit, and then we get closer and closer to the day that we're supposed to sign, or the day we're supposed to move and go to that school, and we're the 18-year-old that I don't go there. You know what? I'm not going there. And now you're back to square one. 2 years after you should have been there. So the verbal commitment should be your word. It should be the final. That should be, in your mind, that should be the same as signing, in my opinion. We don't want a bunch of players verbally committing and then backing out. Bruce?
In the event of a coaching change after a verbal commit, I mean,
Perfectly
do
okay.
both parties reconsider then?
I think that that's perfectly acceptable, because it's a very common practice from the coach as well. The coach, you know, a new coach comes in, and that coach does not have to honor the verbal commitments of the previous coaching staff. And so if you've committed to that school because a major reason is the coach, and that coach is gone, then I think that you're perfectly entitled to change your mind or reopen your recruiting. You know, I think the thing you have to anytime you want to reopen your recruiting, you have to understand that you're jeopardizing your offer. I mean, if you even insinuate that you're going to reopen your recruiting to a coach, that automatically is probably a breach of trust. And now the person's going to go, well, I don't know if I can trust you now. Even if you mention the idea that you're thinking about it. But yeah, coaching change is definitely a fair ground to reopen your recruiting.
Kind of crappy if you're in our situation. They get fired our senior year, you're 33%, that offer that's freshman, sophomore, you're screwed.
Say that again?
As a verbal commit, if the meeting were to get fired before we got there, the new coach said, no, we don't want you,
Yeah.
we're looking at Division II now, because those offers are gone.
Well, you're looking for an anomaly. You're looking for a school that's got an injury, a school that's a kid that's early graduated, a transfer. You know, you're not in the traditional calendar anymore. And this is, you know, the NCAA is currently trying to implement policy that's taking the committing later and later. It's going to be a slow process. I don't know that it's going to happen by the time that we are making our decisions, but they're trying to get it to where kids, you know, there's no contact and kids can't commit until the end of their junior year, and they're trying to get it to move that way, but I don't think that it's all going to happen before we have to make decisions, or before we want to make decisions. But, yeah, I mean, that particular situation, though, could happen to anybody, a kid that's been committed for 3 years, or a kid that committed last week and then the coach gets fired the next week.
How effective is that recruiting process where the, like those captain views or those other places that says, oh, coaches have found you or something, please open to,
Yeah,
open, and then you have to pay like.
Yeah, what Josh is saying
$60
is that now that the National Rush has just made an agreement with College Fit Finder, those things probably aren't going to be necessary. But when we're going to an event that uses a Captain U, you need to still make your player profile, because that's what's going to go in the book, and it's free. So if, you know, our next tournament may use Captain U, so they're going to put the player profile book that's going to have Amy's contact information, her grade. If you don't fill that out, then in the book, it's going to be blank. So if they come and watch us and you didn't fill that out, and Charity's not walking around the field handing out our player profile, then they don't know who Amy is. So in those particular situations, you do the free stuff. But I don't think with the talent that our young ladies are, with the opportunities that's in front of us, and with the coaching staff that we have and the number of players that we send on, I don't see the need for us to be spending lots of money on recruiting agencies, because some of the recruiting agencies, to be honest, they're just mass emailing companies. They're putting out mass email to schools that pseudo fit your daughter's filter, and then the school may or may not respond to the mass email. So I wouldn't spend money on that stuff. Not at this point.
How common is it to go from a junior college to maybe one school or maybe two schools?
Well, every school is different. I would tell you that on average for our institution, we're averaging probably a little bit over 75% of our sophomores decide to play on, 100% placement of the players who want to play. We will get a player that says, hey, I'm done playing because I got into nursing school, or we'll have kids commit to us as high school seniors and say, I'm just playing 2 years and I'm going to KU. I'm going to K-State, I'm going to be done playing. But it's 100% placement of our players that want to play, and we're averaging about 75% players that move on, and I think we're probably a little bit higher because of our success. But it's a piece of cake to go from junior college to NCAA.
How important is like a highlight video, recruiting video, or?
I think a highlight video is fantastic, especially if you can put it in your email, because that's instant ability to evaluate and assess, and it's going to be a lot more captivating than just reading about you. You know, just saying that this is what I do and this is the position I play and this is what I think I can do, it's different than Abby having a 3-minute clip that the coach can click on. So if you